is German policemen not knowing what goes on. Okay, let us simply stop here, put on the light, and then since I just confused some parts, you know what I propose to you to solve this stupid problem for which I'm responsible? Go around 5 minutes forward, just without voice, and you will find a scene from Vertigo which I described. After a scene from Fight Club which we will not see, and a scene with Jim Carrey which we will not see. Just play with this behind me and 5 minutes forward till you get that scene in the Ernest restaurant. Okay, let me go on here. So the key feature in all these 3 cases is that the couple on the hill is observed by an innocent, threatening, ignorant observer below the hill. And the traumatic character of this scene, the excess that pertains to it, hinges on this gaze. It is only from the standpoint of this gaze that the scene is traumatic. When later or earlier the camera jumps closer to the couple, the situation is normalized. So again, the fundamental procedure here is that there is more truth in this misperception by the ignorant observing gaze than in the objective true state of things. You got the point. The point is that if we were to be shown, we are even not aware how much our perception of the scene depends on the fact that previously we see that perplexed gaze. It is as it were the gaze is inscribed into the scene itself. For example, you noticed in the first of these 3 shots from Suspicion how even the weather changes in a totally non-realistic way. Down there at the church it's be calm. All of a sudden up it's windy. So it's this ambiguity. You don't know, is this really going on, or is it the dirty fantasy of the girl who is observing them down there? Of course, the Lacanian point is that it is really going on, but at a phantasmatic level in the imagination of the couple, there must be an innocent gaze to be shocked observing them from down. So again, the point here is not a simple opposition between and subjective gaze, but it is that when how to put it, we penetrate the depth beneath the elusive surface precisely through this subjective excess of illusion. If we take away the partial gaze which doesn't understand the situation, we miss precisely what is really going on. In other words, the idea is that the first traumatized gaze contains truth than the later explanation. It's not, you know, take a second look and you will understand it. It's the first perplexed gaze in a way understand this. Take a second look and you will miss the point. Where are we now there, please? Because I would really like to see, I'm sorry for this confusion. What's this? Okay. We'll be over in a couple of seconds. Perfect. I did it.
Are you okay? What happened?
Okay. This was... Okay. Leave it. So, this is from another line of argumentation. Jim Carrey, me, myself, and Irene. My point is that in the same way as in the Fight Club, you have the fist, which becomes what in Deleuzian terms I call not a body without organs, but organ without body. Finally, sorry for the mess, here we are. Remember that Scotty is there on the side. And now, of course, the stain, the back décolleté of Kim Novak, camera approaching. Okay, so that we don't lose too much time. It's so interesting. It is clear that this shot is not a point of view shot, because Scotty is there on the side. Now, if you don't believe me, check it up. I did it. Practically all books on Hitchcock. That's interesting. Now you see, now there is a jump to the exchange of subjective and objective shot. Now look even more carefully. She approaches, it's not a subjective shot. Because you will see now soon Scotty how precisely he is not looking at her. You see, he is not looking at her. It's only now that we get the standard exchange of subjective and objective shot. Stop. So again, the mystery is an elementary one. I couldn't believe it. I checked it up. Practically all, for example, Robin Wood in the first version of his Hitchcock's films, only in the second version he corrects it, and practically all big names, Laura Mulvey and so on, describe the two shots, the two most libidinally charged shots. First one, the camera through the large restaurant room approaching Kim Novak, and the second one, this fascinating profile. They describe it as a point of view shot of Scotty, which is not true. Why? What do we get here? Here again, the ambiguity of subjective and objective is crucial. Precisely insofar as Madeleine's profile is not Scotty's point of view, the shot of her profile is nonetheless totally subjectivized, in a way depicting not what Scotty effectively sees, but what he imagines, his hallucinatory inner vision. Recall how, when we seen Madeleine's profile, the red background of the restaurant wall seemed to get even more intense, almost threatening to explode in red heat turning into yellow blaze, as if the passion of Scotty's gaze was directly inscribed into the background. So, you know, that's what I want to draw your attention to. How, for example, the second shot, the profile, it was intensely subjectivized, but it was not his point of view shot. And you notice how he precisely was afraid to take a look directly at her. So it is as if this shot was libidinally too intense. He didn't dare to take a look at it directly. It is only when he gained a minimum of safe distance after Madeleine withdrew towards the entrance, towards the door, that he dared Scotty to look at her, and you get the standard suture procedure, exchange of subjective-objective shot. So this is, in a way, the Hitchcockian excess. A subjective shot, but which nonetheless cannot be attributed to any subject. It is a kind of a subjectivization without subject. The eye, or the gaze rather, functions here, to put it in Deleuzian terms, as an organ without body, directly registering the passion in an intensity which cannot be assumed by the subject. So again, what we get in these two shots, which are subjectivized without being attributed to a subject, is precisely a pure pre-subjective phenomenon. The profile of Madeleine is such a pure appearance, extremely libidinally invested, but precisely in a way too subjective to be assumed or attributed to a subject. And again, I read then the suture procedure, that is to say, later, the camera involves in this standard exchange of point of view shot, objective shot, that is, we see Scotty, we see what he sees, precisely as a kind of gentrification, domestication, taming of this subjective excess. You know, it's as if he didn't dare to look at it, it was too much. When he gained distance, it was able to get this exchange. And it is precisely, in a way, this excess, interestingly enough, which had to be censored. Now I speak almost as a good Deleuzian. This point of subjectivization without subject had to be censored, had to be, in most of readings,